gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for May 5th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game S Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Carl Urban steps on the Miz's turf. Bungie is raising prices, and yet another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is coming. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game S Mornings. It's Tamor Hussein, everybody. Tam, how are you doing?
I am good. Yeah. I am back. It is DREGGSDAY. We are gonna slowly crawl our way through this mud of garbage news.
Yeah,
we're gonna try and have fun with it. This is the tough mudder of news.
Yeah, we're gonna mud through this tough. I swirled together some news that as best I could. It's a real slurry of crap out there, but we'll catch up on some stuff that's been happening this week. There was a few things, but hey, did you see this? You see what GameSpot's doing? They started their own news show called Spot On. That's gonna happen on Fridays against us. We always do a news show on Friday. What are we gonna do about this?
I would say let's give it a chance. You know, as someone who also works at GameSpot, I would say let's give it a chance. How do you feel about that?
Listen, the only way I could possibly do that is if somehow if you help them out. Are you going to help them out?
It is my show, Jeff.
What the fuck?
I knew this was happening. I've been planning this for years, Austin. It's me, Austin. It was me.
What time does Spot On go up today? You guys gonna get up here pretty soon?
It should go up at 12. Here's the thing, I've been going around doing. We're gonna give you a peek behind the curtain, all right? Because we're all friends and family here. I've been Lucy and I have been going around. This is very weird. We've been doing a PR tour.
Yeah,
for this.
I'm like, oh yeah, they're out there making it happen.
Yeah, we're out there talking to people and doing PR stuff, and it's just I've been pitching these shows to people in a very PR way, or not PR way, but we're pitching these shows, and it feels very interesting and strange and different. So I am going to tell everyone here, but I'm not going to PR it.
Yeah,
I'm just going to tell people. I'm going to tell the Giant Bomb family just what it is, and you guys can hopefully go and. Am I having an earthquake? Someone said no. I keep moving, and my camera's got this weird.
He's very active.
It's got cracky. Yeah. So this show is actually we wanted to do a weekly news show, right?
Yes.
And the problem we had was we sat down, and I was like, everyone's got a fucking weekly news show.
Yep.
Everyone has a news show. And it's daily, and then there are weekly ones as well. Kind of Funny Games Daily exists. We've got Game S Mornings. Between those two, everything's covered. By the time we get to Friday, no one wants to hear that stuff all over again. And also, it's podcasts as well. So instead, what we did was we decided to basically take the week's news, find either the most important topic or the theme, or something pertinent to, the industry that is related to what happened that week, and instead just do a deep dive on one topic. So it's part news, part video essay. So it's me and Lucy. We got a new studio. We're sitting there and we're basically just talking about what the issue is. And it's 15 minutes max, 15, 20 minutes max. I think it's even less than that. It might just be 10 minutes. And we're not recounting the news. This is our take on the news, and it's also a kind of we want to have a discussion around it. So sometimes it's going to be spicy, and this week's episode is a bit spicy.
Ooh.
So I fully expect people to give me shit about it, give us shit about it. It's going to be live at 12, hopefully, on youtube.com/GameSpot and on the GameSpot site, but YouTube is what we would prefer people to watch it on. I would love if the Giant Bomb friends and family, the Dudas, went over there and showed it some love. It's the first thing that I've done in a little while, series-wise, so hopefully it does well. I'd love for it to do well. I'd love for people to go, oh yeah, good job, you guys pitched this idea, we let you do it, and it worked out. So yeah, it's just me. It's me and Lucy hanging out and talking news.
I'll say that when I first started this show, I tried to do something like that inside this show called The Catch Up, and it didn't work. I think you have to have its own. It has to live on its own because people want to come there and hear the discussion about the specific thing, and it can't just like live at the back half of all this other news. So I think it's a really good idea, and I'm excited for you guys to pull it off.
I wonder what do we have happening. What's the next thing we've got going? UPF 12. That's we can't. UPF is happening at the exact same time. It's going live, but maybe we'll premiere it on the site after UPF.
Yeah, I think that'd
so
be a good
people can
idea.
watch it.
We'll take that episode, and after UPF, we'll just put it right on the channel, and everyone's
Nice.
watching UPF live can watch it. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this mess. Before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Bungie is raising Destiny 2 Season Pass prices. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Bungie has announced plans to raise Destiny 2 Season Pass prices later this month, starting with Season 21, Season of the Deep. The price of the standard Season Pass will increase from 1,000 silver to 1,200 silver, which is $10 in Xbox Live points. Remember that? At the new price, players will have to buy 2 silver bundles to purchase the Season Pass, whereas before they'd only need one. 500 silver cost $4.99, so $5. 1,100 silver cost $10. The cost of the Season Pass plus 10 ranks bundle will also rise from 2,000 silver to 2,200 silver. Season passes have been like, I'm feeling a bit like overwhelmed. They are everywhere. They are for games. We got a story coming up a little bit like, that Lego 2K racer game that I'm kind of excited about. It's like they've already got 4 seasons planned. You could buy those season passes right now, and they're not telling you any of the content that's in there. I guess that's basically the story. We'll probably just skip that now. But it's like that is I don't like that. That's making me feel like what is even happening? It's like I just want to go play these games and not think about this stuff. But Bungie, Destiny 2, very much a game about this stuff. Like people want this content. But do you think it's in a place where like people are willing to pay a higher price?
I mean, yeah, I think they are. Like, Destiny is one of the few games that I think you can do this for because, I mean, like, people have their ups and downs with Destiny, but the thing you can't deny is the content is there and the commitment is there. So at the very least, if I'm playing Destiny frequently, I'm making this decision on whether I'm going to pay an increased price for the season pass. I'm also factoring in how much that offers me and how frequently am I going to play this game. And if it's some people who are like dedicated, who are doing dailies, who are coming in back over and over again, in the long term, this is a minor, right? It's gonna like even out in terms of how much time they spend with it. So I feel like in this case, it's probably okay. I do agree with you on the trend of season passes being announced and shown without any content before the game is even out.
Like Redfall's apparently got a couple things happen. I don't know if it's a season pass, but they have like
it's got like extra
worth
stuff.
Of content.
Yeah, they said they've got seasons worth of content, and I've said this elsewhere. I don't think they should do any of that. Like I don't think it's worth their time. I feel like now we've reached the point where there was a point where everyone was saying season pass. We're going to do season passes because it was attractive. The perception was people were going, oh shit, you're going to commit to this long term. And that was like the reason it was a PR or marketing beat at that time, because people were like, oh, this is going to be a long time experience. And also it has impact on, optics, perception, shares, investors, that kind of stuff. Because they look at a game like that has a season pass and they're like, oh, this is a potential long-term moneymaker. I don't think we're at that. We're not at that stage anymore. And now the thing has to be, you announce a season pass once you've proved you got a good game.
Yes. Because
there's so many games that have come out now that I was like, we've got a season pass. Our game kind of sucks. It's dead. See you later, everyone. And it's like, okay, cool. We don't. Why did you announce all that shit and like ask people to pay for it and that kind of stuff in advance? So yeah, it needs to stop.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty frustrated with it too. It's this weird thing that like. If you do put out a game that people love, like Destiny 2, and that they are very much attached to, that's fair to a certain point. But even then, there is this tension between people who like have made this game their hobby and Bungie knowing there's people who have made this game their hobby. And now it's like, okay, you're just more money to us, maybe. If we charge a little bit more, we know you're not going anywhere. This is your thing. We've got you. Maybe we should be charging you more because we're leaving money on the table. And it's like, oh man, I'm thinking about that too as I'm getting into these games. It's like, if I do make this thing my hobby, it's like I'm going to be more easy to exploit. And like everything in capitalism is exploitation. I'm not calling Bungie out on that stuff specifically. Yeah. It is just this weird tension between an ongoing relationship between a game studio and my wallet that I really dislike thinking about. And I think it taints things a little bit. But of course, that's just where we are. And for an ongoing game like this, what choice do they have?
I feel like for me, I agree with that 100%. But the thing that upsets me the most is like, it's not earned anymore. It's just assumed. And that assumptive nature, it pisses me off. It's very like, it's borderline arrogant for me. It's like, oh, we've got a season pass here. And the assumption is our game is great. When like, most of the time it's like, hey, we've got a season pass here, this gaming and be alive for a really long time, and you're going to feel bad. How many times have we had the situation where it's like, hey, our game is dead, we're going to refund everyone's purchases? Yep. Like, how is that not like instilling humility in more developers and publishers?
And it's like when the weird outliers there where it doesn't happen with multiverses, where it's like, we're going to go away for half a year. We'll come back next year and we're not going to refund anybody because we're coming back. But that was just early access, a beta. Don't mind us. That was so weird.
Yeah, it's just, it's not funnily enough, this is part of the kind of discussion on the first episode of Spot On. We're talking about, this kind of nature of games assuming that they now own your life. And like they're trying to become, like, this is going to sound really stupid, but like they're trying to become like that sport you play. It's like, oh yeah, you want to, most people or some people would be like, yeah, I play basketball once a week or twice a week, and these games are like that. You're going to play this with us, and this is going to be a lifestyle game. And it's great to have a lifestyle game. I had Overwatch for a really long time, but I didn't spend that much money on it. It was up to me, and the Overwatch stuff happened once the game was good. Like I was like, okay, I'm definitely committed to this, and I'll buy this loot box stuff. Season passes now, I'm just like, okay, I'm not that into them. And it's just like fucking the grind, because the one season pass that I do actually like partake in is the Valorant one. I play a decent amount of Valorant, and I take part in that season pass because I feel like I commit enough time to that game to do it. Also, the skins are fucking insanely expensive, so I just thought that's the only way I'm getting new shit.
I mean, I think with the Overwatch is a really good example that you brought up there, where it's like, because it like makes me think like, yeah, that is a game that people fell in love with over time. It was bringing in a lot of new players, and Destiny 2 has definitely done has had a similar structure over time, a similar arc. And now, is this price increase a signifier that Bungie itself believes that it has mostly already brought in the new players that it's going to bring in, and it's in a sort of a maintenance mode in terms of its relationship with new audiences, where new audiences, they might come in here and there, but for the most part, they are selling the same stuff to the same players. And so that's where the growth needs to come from increasing prices, not from growing the audience. Is that what they're kind of saying with this?
Yeah, I mean, like taking that line of reasoning forward, like the worst case scenario is you've probably reached, as you said, you've reached the upper limit of people who are going to come in at the previous price point. And so if you raise it now, what the worst case scenario is, new people still come in, but they're just used to this higher price point because they have no frame of reference. They don't know it was cheaper before. And if they're told it was cheaper before, it's not like they're going to get mad about it. They're just going to be like, well, this is what it is. And the same kind of like calculus happens whether they want to commit to it or not, as it would in a new player who previously paid for the old price. I feel like that is probably the move here. And also, like, again, I think Bungie is one of the few companies that can get away with this because the content is there, and the commitment is there, and they've got so much kind of back catalog stuff in Destiny 2 already, and it's also building up to kind of like the big kind of conclusion of Destiny's big story arc that they're working on, right? So I think like they're like warming up the audience, and I
guess then, I mean, the final question here is like, is this also warming us up to a Destiny 3? It seems like it would make a lot of sense. Every time it sort of comes up to Bungie, they don't seem too thrilled about that possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I don't know what Destiny 3 could be.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Destiny 2, like changing Destiny 2 into Destiny 3 is probably what's most likely. And I think the ideal in my mind is like that doesn't require a complete new package. At the same time, I know there are some limitations of Destiny 2 that are kind of factored into the way, it functions. They've had to kind of cycle content in and out because of,
Right.
various limitations. And it feels like the game might be reaching like as big as it can get without kind of doing a full reset and updating the technology so it can handle that stuff a bit better. So although I think Bungie's intention and their best case scenario would be to just change the number on this to 3 and push out like a new kind of set of mechanics and a visual overhaul and that kind of thing, but I don't know if that's feasible from a publishing and development perspective, and also I don't know if it's feasible from a kind of like, does Sony want a thing out there that is called Destiny 3 that people can buy before they settle into having this new kind of, experience that they work with? I definitely think that a Destiny 3 is going to happen, whether it's a brand new product or a kind of reworking of Destiny 2.
An Overwatch 2 situation.
Yeah, exactly. Remains to be seen. I think the consumer friendly thing is you overhaul Destiny 2 and you also make it available elsewhere for other people who just want to buy a thing.
If Destiny 2 is sort of the poster child for ongoing live service games, I think one of the poster childs for another kind of big game right now is Hogwarts Legacy. And this next story is Hogwarts Legacy passes $1 billion in sales. And in terms of just big AAA IP-driven things, which is a big trend right now, this is it. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Hogwarts Legacy is putting up very big sales numbers. The game has now passed 15 million copies sold and 1 billion in retail since launch in February. Parent company WB Discovery announced during its latest investor briefing. Hogwarts Legacy is the largest release of all time for WB Games. It's also 2023's best-selling game so far. Hogwarts Legacy's path to 1 billion began with 12 million copies sold and 850 million in revenue over the game's first 2 weeks. It's now up to 15 million copies sold and 1 billion. No information has been provided regarding the development and marketing costs for Hogwarts Legacy, so there's no way to know how profitable the game might be. In any event, 1 billion in retail revenue is a major milestone. Most games don't get to 15 million. Most games don't get to 10 million copies sold, let alone 15 million. 15 million is a massive number. If you are in that club, you are among a very, very tiny sort of club of other games that can get anywhere near that. And for me, this continues to be surprising. There's the backlash to J.K. Rowling. Even that aside, like I thought Harry Potter stuff was kind of in the dumps because of the latest movies just being absolute failures. The Fantastic Animals or Fantastic Beasts or whatever.
Fantastic Beasts, yeah.
Yes.
I think like Harry Potter is one of those franchises where even if it sucks ass, like it's still gonna perform.
I guess so.
I feel like you can get away with that. Like I watched the first Fantastic Beasts on a plane, like at one point through like someone else was watching it next to me, and I was like, "What is this? It looks terrible."
Yeah, it's right.
And yeah, I feel like this is again the thing that we have to also consider is like outside of the gaming audience. I know we had a big kind of discussion around this stuff and like the controversy around it, which was rightly so. There's a legion of people who just don't know anything. They don't know this is happening. They don't know. I know personally people who are just completely detached from, they could not tell you what J.K. Rowling is up to.
Yeah.
So as far as they're concerned, a new Harry Potter thing exists. Great. They're just going to buy it. There's enough of, I think a lot of that is, Harry Potter is reaching mainstream penetration in a way that very few other franchises can. Perhaps the closest you get is something like Grand Theft Auto. Yeah.
I was going to say that's specifically what I wanted to ask you about based on the story is other companies are going to see this. They are going to be like, we need to do something like that. And can we go out and get a major IP and replicate this success? And can they? Is there anything else out there that can do something along these lines?
Is there anything else that can do something along those lines? Yes, I think there definitely is. Lord of the Rings easily could do that stuff. I think there's a bunch of like, I think perhaps Lord of the Rings. I don't think Game of Thrones has it anymore. It had its moment, yeah, because they had that Telltale series and it was very okay. I think maybe One Piece is one, like, but the problem is all the anime games are made by Bandai Namco, and they just
that last One Piece game came out. It was kind of just it
was fine. It was good, yeah, and like I feel like there's a lot of anime properties that just, and I did a video essay about this, but like anime games just get treated like absolute dog shit just because they know that anime fans are rubes or marks. Which one is it? Marks,
yeah,
marks.
Some are rubes, but you're looking for marks.
Yeah, marks, and like they will buy whatever. So you just like update that. They get treated like the same way that shitty sports games get treated. Not the good ones, the shitty ones, where it's like, we updated the kit on all of these players, now here it is. And it's like, okay, we updated Boruto, here he is. But I feel like that those, like, yeah, Lord of the Rings, One Piece, I don't know. I think those are the main, maybe something like not Blade Runner. What am I thinking of? Some sci-fi property. I'm trying to think of a good sci-fi property that has it, like Dune or something like that. But I don't think even Dune is kind of like not there. Rough. There's very few that I can. There's like a handful, and I don't doubt these corporations' abilities to snap up a property, an IP, and do something with it. The thing is, it also needs to be good. I'm not saying like Hogwarts Legacy is amazing or by any means. I played a little bit of it to kind of make sure.
It does the thing where Christopher McQuarrie was talking about, like, when he's trying to make a movie. He's the director of a bunch of Tom Cruise movies recently, and he was saying, when you're working on a big property, and he's talking about films, but I think this applies to games, you need to give people what they want in an unexpected way. And it's like, that's a very fine line to walk. And Hogwarts Legacy gives that audience what they want, and it's in a somewhat unexpected way in some cases. But for the most part, it gives them what they want, and they haven't had that before at all, really. And for real, maybe not for a really long time, the Chamber of Secrets game for GameCube, I guess, was okay. But yeah, I mean, and I think that's what they need to do.
The other thing that they need to do that I think Hogwarts Legacy gets right, and it helps that market penetration, is that Harry Potter obviously has these immediately recognizable touchstones. That could be iconography, it could be music, it could be kind of like characters, it could be moments, you know. And if you're making a thing and you are able to communicate that those are in there very easily to anyone who doesn't have familiarity with the medium, then you're going to do well. I feel like if you put a Hogwarts Legacy advert in front of someone without putting the logo up at any point, and they have no reference for video games, and you told them, what is this for, they would pick up it's Harry Potter immediately.
Yeah, that's very
and
true.
I think that's the kind of like the key to it. Do you have something that when you go out there and you put like a second of it out or 2 seconds of it out in a trailer form, will people get it? And I don't think there's much of that. Maybe like who is it? I think there's the IO Interactive is doing Bond, right?
That's right.
Like that is a major one. Like you'll get people with that. And then I think some people in the chat are mentioning Avatar as well. I feel like we'll people.
We'll see what that game's coming out later this year. Apparently,
we'll see.
Ubisoft's gonna drop that on us. We'll probably get a good look at that at Ubisoft Forward in a month from now.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, like, if you are in the kind of, if you are looking at this and going, we need to do that, I think you need to wait until you can get a better grasp of how Star Wars does.
That's
because like that's the other one where it's like that's the other thing where it has that same level of recognition. And that's, I think, you use as a barometer to figure out whether this is a trend or an anomaly. Because obviously Harry Potter had some weird shit going on behind it where absolute freaks were like, I'm going to buy this to own the libs and you know, that kind of stuff. Like, we don't know what the impact of that is on sales. But I feel like if you look at Star Wars is probably a better measure of what you can do with a good property than Harry Potter is, I think.
Yeah, but I kind of feel sometimes that Star Wars is like a genre in a video game unto itself. It's like hard, but it's probably my own perspective as a Star Wars fan. I think you're probably right that we, if this, I mean, it does seem like Survivor is going to sell more than 10 million. Is it going to also get to 15 million? We'll see. I think you're right. If it kind of gets up to if it gets to 15 million, then IP driven AAA stuff is going to be everywhere. in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be everyone doing that stuff. But if it is just Harry Potter, maybe people have a little bit come to Jesus moment. They're like, we don't have Harry Potter.
Yeah, and like that sounds quite like not doom and gloomy, but it sounds quite. I don't know if I like the sound of that.
Me neither.
I think the thing is like what we'll quickly learn is I think what will happen is that period of IP domination and like adaptation will only happen if the quality is there.
Yes.
Like if they immediately we're like 2 years into it and the games are shit, I think that that will be the end of it. It'll burn out of it, out of it quickly. And like that is pretty much what happened like a few years ago when IP driven stuff was super popular. We reached a point where having a licensed game was not enough. You needed to have a good licensed game, and that took us into like the Batman Arkham era of stuff where that we kind of are still in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like you need to, if the games need to be good, otherwise people will quickly be like, I'm not buying your fucking IP shit.
Yep. All right, let's move along here. Final Fantasy 16 has been banned in Saudi Arabia from Chris Scullion at VGC. Final Fantasy 16 has been banned in Saudi Arabia. Its official ratings board has confirmed in a post on the official Twitter account for its video game division on Wednesday. The General Commission for Audiovisual Media stated that the game had not been cleared for release in the country. According to the message, the game has been banned because it contains unacceptable content that Square Enix refused to change. Here's a quote. For fans of Final Fantasy 16, we would like to clarify that it has not been released in the kingdom due to the publisher's unwillingness to make the necessary modifications, the tweet reads. Earlier in the week, the board's general supervisor for video games, Hatan Tawili, had tweeted about the situation without explicitly naming the game. Here's a quote from him. Unfortunately, after all our attempts over the past 8 months without any success, one of the most important and biggest games of the year is on its way to being banned due to the company's complete refusal to modify the content to suit the region. Tim, this is not something that's out of the ordinary. This happens pretty frequently.
No.
But I think what is maybe making the story worthy of including in our rundown today is that Saudi Arabia's increasing influence in the video game space due to their investment in a lot of video game publishers and the long-term implications of that. And I don't want to start fear-mongering about your games are going to get censored because Saudi Arabia, but is there anything there? Is there anything that people should be worried about?
I think there is a concern. Like there's very, I don't want to speak to Saudi Arabia's kind of like what is behind this. They didn't
specify what was in the game.
Yeah, I've made my positions on Saudi Arabia as a country and its kind of rules, laws, and the hypocrisies of it very clear in other more appropriate kind of settings. But yeah, I think that they potentially could need to could have an outsized impact on media as a whole, because there's a lot of money there. They are investing in a lot of different companies, and at a certain point, if they able to get a kind of dominant say in these game companies, which I hope doesn't happen, they could like call the shots on how games are made, and I hope that isn't the case.
Right.
And I honestly applaud Square Enix for being like, no, we're not changing it.
I do too.
Good on you.
Right.
Don't change that shit. Don't
do this,
because that's the only way it's gonna change. In all other ways is if you're like, okay, cool, we're willing to just. I hope game developers get to the point where they just stop factoring in Saudi Arabia as a definite part of their market, because it means that it will be more. And this sucks to say because there are gamers in Saudi Arabia, and it sucks, and like it's not their fault, but like at the same time, I'm of the opinion where a country like or a country like this coming up and saying change your game for us is unreasonable, and especially if you're not talking about why that needs to happen. Like maybe it's something like specific. Like I could not think of something offensive in Final Fantasy or something reasonably offensive in Final Fantasy. There are definitely things that I could in my mind kind of point to as someone who's got an understanding of Saudi Arabian culture, Islamic culture, what could be there as things that they're like, we're upset by this. But to that, I would say, grow up. Like, are you that fickle? Is your faith that thin? Like that you can be like offset by a video game. You know, like I say that as a practicing Muslim.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
I mean, and you know, you pointed out the hypocrisy. That's where, I mean, there's a lot of religious people, and there's a lot of religious people who never use their religion to then affect and control other people or to wield it as a cudgel. And that is Saudi Arabia's MO. Like, that is their thing.
My message to the game development companies is don't change what you're making for them, like for anyone, like whether that's Saudi Arabia or major regions that have power in potential decisions, whether that means Saudi Arabia, China, even like, you know, the US to a degree. Like, don't compromise your creative vision just because of, you know, stuff like that. And if it means that you're not selling in Saudi Arabia, fine. Trust me, it sucks, but the people in Saudi Arabia who want to play the game will figure out a way to get the game.
Exactly. Yes.
We've been doing it for years. We've been like, I did it when I was young, and I have family in Pakistan where games aren't as available. They play those games. They managed to get those games. Trust me, and they did it by paying for it. So don't you worry. And like, if Saudi Arabia wants to be shitty about it, good.
I want to cover my bases for this story. I'm aware that there are cultural and religious institutions in America that burn books all the time and are guilty of that sort of stuff. I think, again, the reason I brought this story here is Saudi Arabia is invested. They own 8% of Nintendo. Now, let's put that in perspective. People will say things like, that means every dollar you spend, Saudi Arabia gets 8 cents of that when you buy. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. They do have an investment in shares, and if those shares increase in value, then Saudi Arabia does get more money. They could. That's a lot. That is a major share of a company like Nintendo, and that does put them in a position of maybe one day getting a seat on the board. So far, they do not. But it's by, you know, just because they have that huge investment does not mean that they're suddenly going to get to call the shots. And I think drawing a line with something like Final Fantasy 16 is an important thing to do, because it tells everyone else Square Enix isn't going to do this, even though they know that Saudi Arabia money is on the table. And this is Square Enix, a company that could probably use that money. And so everyone else should maybe be if Square Enix can do it, you can do it as well.
Yeah. And to be clear, restating, we don't know why this is happening.
Right. No idea.
There could be a very legitimate reason. I doubt it, but there could be a very legitimate reason. If that's the case, okay, tell us what it is. But if you're not telling us what it is, it makes me believe that is something stupid. And again, grow up.
Okay, let's move on here. This is a catch up from yesterday. We talked a bunch about that Phil Spencer interview that was wonderfully done over on Kind of Funny's Xcast. We missed this one. I figure we'll just hit it here today. Phil Spencer said, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo." This comes from Brendan Sinclair at GamesIndustry.biz. Phil Spencer says making great games wouldn't be enough for Xbox to claw out of the third place in the console race. In an appearance on the Kind of Funny Xcast published yesterday on YouTube, Spencer laid out the reason for the company's pursuit of subscription services like Game Pass and cloud gaming technology. He was quoted as saying, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but the truth of the matter is, when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have in certain cases a very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team, and that's on us, not on anybody else." He says, I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation. And he explains what he means by that, saying everyone built their digital console game library last generation, and they picked a racehorse to do that with. And for a lot of people, that was PS4. Some people was Nintendo Switch. And for fewer people was Xbox. And now those people are not going to abandon their digital libraries because someone else starts making great games. Now, in that context, this is him speaking very specifically about the console war that people kind of want Microsoft to go back and start fighting more earnestly, where it's like, no, we want you to sell more Xboxes than PlayStation, and that's what we care about. And this is his answer for why he does not care about that specifically. What he does care about is the wider Xbox ecosystem. And in that, and he later on Twitter would kind of say, in response to MVG, Modern Vintage Gamer, who said, Xbox doesn't have to make great games to sell consoles. They just have to make great games. And Phil Spencer responded saying, yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, how do you read all this? What's your takeaway from all this?
I mean, like his reasoning makes perfect sense, and it is he's been very frank. That interview's great.
Yes, they
Shout
did a
out
great
to the
job.
Xcast and Kind of Funny crew for doing that, and shout out to him for being quite candid. It's very, very candid, which is what you can expect from Phil. And this is just
Yes.
another extension of Phil being candid. And in his candor, he's saying we are in third place. Why we can't spend the rest of our generation or our future trying to win an uphill struggle race. Like there's no point in doing that. So they're not doing the thing where they're trying to sell more consoles. They're trying to figure out how can we create good experiences and then make those democratized and available in so many different places that eventually they're just in our ecosystem. And it's, if you think about it, this is exactly what Nintendo did in the Wii days.
Yeah.
They reached a point where they were like, we're not going to try and compete with like high end graphics. Instead, what we're going to do is try and create experiences that have broad appeal. For Nintendo, it was, inviting mom, dad, and grandma into playing a video game by swinging their arms, which is an effective way to do it. That's one way to do it. And that kind of pivoted the way Nintendo treats games. For Xbox, they're not looking to, go into casual games. What they're looking to do is make Xbox available in more places. PC, TVs, xCloud, etc., on your mobile phone, wherever it may be. And that's going to continue to happen. That net is going to get wider and wider. And with that in mind, the play here isn't to try and sell more consoles. It's to make the game so that when these people come in, whatever door they come in through, the house they're in is exciting to be in, and it's like there's cool stuff there for you to check out. And yeah, that is the focus for them, and it makes perfect sense. The thing that we need is they need to start just putting those games out. Like those things, those are the things that they're talking about doing them, but we just haven't seen very many of them yet. And it is like, I fully expect it to happen. I think like it's easy to forget that Xbox has been doing a lot of like setting up the dominoes for a really long time. And that has been to its detriment at a time when its competitors are putting out major bangers. Like there's going to be a phase in the future where a sequence of top tier or high profile Xbox games will come out. I'm not saying they're going to be amazing. It's going to happen though. And they're just like, they started setting up their dominoes much later than everyone else did. Like Sony has been doing in some form or another this approach to high quality first party games probably since the PS2 days. Like maybe not in as a organized way as it is now, but like they had top tier blockbuster games that were made by their own studios that were bangers, and they continue to do that. And now they've reached a point where they've refined it to a basic. They're like there's a magic to it, there's a science to it, and that's what. And Nintendo did the same thing. Nintendo did it from before that. They put out a Mario, it's gonna bang. They put out a Zelda, it's gonna bang. And they've got Metroid, they've got other franchises that are the same. Microsoft had that for a little bit with Halo, and then it kind of like fell apart for a while, and now they're trying to build a new age of that, and it's just taking a little while.
I think that's exactly. And what happened was, and you identified this a little bit, where there was this change during the last generation, during the Xbox One generation, where I think they were caught with their pants down because they were operating under the assumption that, okay, listen, we were behind in the Xbox One generation, and we will spend and invest a little bit to do what we can here, but there's going to be a reset next generation, and everything's going to go back to zero. And oh my God, no, there's not. They looked around and they're like, wait, no, there's not. Everyone's buying digital games, and we know for a fact that Sony's going to do what we're going to do and make it continuous, but from one generation to the other, and then people aren't going to skip. And then it's like you could tell their answer to that was like, what can we possibly do to fight that? Or what if we made a big play? Game Pass. That is like an ongoing thing that people can feel an ownership of, and that'll be. And it's like that was their answer. But it's like by the time that happened, and they realized we can make games for Game Pass, they were already operating in this place where, we're looking around. We see people playing Destiny for 1,000 hours, and are we really going to invest in a bunch of single player games and other stuff that people are going to play for a weekend and then leave, and they'll sell maybe 1 million copies? Probably not. Let's just kind of figure out what we're going to do with like live service stuff. And it was like, it was too late, and there's this big gap of them not believing in making games, and then that shift came, and they realized there wasn't going to be a reset. And that's why he says it was the worst generation to lose, and he's absolutely right.
And also like it's easy to forget about like this is a knock-on effect of the Xbox One because it squandered something that the Xbox 360 had a amazing position. And one of the things that made it amazing was not only did it have first-party games, it had like universal, almost widespread third-party support. That was something that they probably were like, that's not going to change. We're going to have like that kind of support going forward, and it will be fine. They move into the Xbox One era, and the Xbox One is a catastrophe. And then that's where that third-party support is also undermined in a lot of ways. Between the perception change around Xbox and it's kind of like anti-consumer kind of perception, as well as like third parties just being like, people don't want to be here. Like that third-party support side to fall off. And then moving into this generation, the thing that they needed is the thing that they put them on top in the Xbox 360 generation. The thing that put them on top in Xbox 360 was Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Right?
A strong network.
It was a service that didn't exist anywhere else to the degree it did on Xbox 360, or wasn't executed as well as it was there. They haven't had something like that show up in the generation preceding it up until now. Game Pass is this generation's Xbox Live, or attempt at it. It's something that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's a big swing, and if they can get it right, it will change the way people play games. The problem that they're having now is that exists, they just don't have the games yet.
Yes.
And once they get the games, that's when Game Pass, whether it can succeed or fail, that's when it will really be put to the test. Because then you have the games like, we have built it, now let's see if they will come. And if they don't come, then this didn't work.
That's right. First we get the games, then we get the money, then we get the khakis.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this story that just dropped. Thank you, Propaganda Panda, for putting this in chat. Plaion, which is formerly Cock Media. Media is restructuring with layoffs plans. I'm sorry to make a joke, but this is of course they're doing this. Publisher, let's see. This comes from James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. Plaion is restructuring its games publishing business which is expected to result in layoffs, gamesindustry.biz has learned. Sources close to the matter have told us a number of jobs are at stake as the publisher, which rebranded from Cock Media last year, merges multiple publishing labels into one. A slide from an internal presentation shared with us shows the company plans to drop 3 of its publishing labels: Deep Silver, Prime Matter, and Ravenscourt. I know Deep Silver. I don't know the other 2, Tam. And instead publish all associated titles under the Plaion brand. Sources tell us the aim is to produce fewer titles at higher quality. Gamesindustry.biz reached out to Plaion for comment and clarification. But a company representative told us the restructuring was part of simplifying our publishing operations. If I was ever going to describe, this is Plaion is part of the Embracer group and all that stuff. If I was going to describe that structure, simple would have never come into the lexicon ever.
No.
I understand what is driving this, and it's the thing where everyone was like, what are they doing over there? And there was never a real answer to that question. And it turns out here's the answer. They're going to just kind of fumble until they have to restructure.
It's crazy because, like, if they wanted to simplify and put themselves in the best position, merging everything under the Plaion brand is insane.
Agreed.
Like, it doesn't make sense. When they changed to Cock Media, people are like, what the fuck is a Cock Media?
Sorry.
Yeah,
no problem.
They're like, people like, we barely get what that is. Then they did a little bit of like, reputation building, and people started to understand what Cock Media was. And now it's like, no, now they're like rebranding to Plaion. The play here is you merge everything into Deep Silver.
Yes,
Deep
agreed.
Silver is the one that
name.
has the lineage in video games. Like, it's perhaps not put out the best games in a while, but gamers know what Deep Silver is. Publish everything under Deep Silver, not Plaion or Plaion. No one knows what that is. And like, you look at the logo and it looks corporate as fuck. It looks like a holding company. And you're just like, this is insane. But I don't know what is going on. Like, it is bizarre, and it sucks that they're having layoffs. But
yeah, of course.
I don't understand the reasoning. I don't understand the kind of thought process here. But then, corporations be corporating.
I'm trying to see if I can get a I'm sorry, let me do this. A version of this family tree over here that actually does explain some of this. It's actually way messier than this, but I'll bring it up for now. Yeah, there's THQ Nordic, there's Koch Media, Coffee Stain. This is even an older one because I think they've gotten more complicated since this. There's Amplifier Game Investment, there's Saber Interactive, Deca Games, and then under each one of those things is like THQ Nordic, 16 studios, 26 externals, Koch Media, 10 internal, 25 external, Coffee Stain, 4 internal, 5 external. Like it's that web. It's that complicated. So I mean, the writing was always on the wall that they were going to have to simplify some things, especially as games like Saints Row don't hit. But you do get, Dead Island 2 did hit. Is Dead Island 2 Ace a Deep Silver joint? I can't remember. I think it is. It's hard to like keep all these things straight. So when you're this complicated, when you're this sprawling,
Silver.
yeah, okay. So you think, okay, that seems like it's going to be a hit. The game sold 1 million copies really fast, but it's like, no. Even a good game, even a game that's selling, is not going to undo the desire for someone at the top of this structure to be like, please make this simpler for me to manage, because this is just unwieldy.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Like
No one
don't know
does.
what
I don't
to
think.
say about this. It's bizarre. Like it's just they're consolidating all these teams and studios under one banner and then making the most boneheaded moves with it. It's just like, all right, man. good luck to you. It sucks that there's a human loss in terms of like jobs and that kind of stuff for these idiotic decisions. Good luck to you.
Let's hit these last couple of stories. Carl Urban is reportedly in talks to play Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat 2 movie. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. The Wrap claims The Boys star is set to portray the wisecracking actor in Mortal Kombat 2, which is currently in the works at New Line Cinema. While best known for his role as Billy Butcher in The Boys, Urban has also played Scourge, the Executioner in Thor Ragnarok, and Leonard McCoy in the Star Trek movie reboot series. Mortal Kombat 2 wouldn't be Urban's first role in a video game movie. He played the lead role in 2005 film adaptation Doom alongside Dwayne Johnson. Oh, he played Mr. Doom. The upcoming movie is the sequel to 2021's Mortal Kombat, which reportedly exceeded expectations of Warner Brothers by generating $22.5 million in its first weekend in the U.S., despite opening during the COVID-19 pandemic. The other side of this is like Ed Boon has seemingly previously endorsed The Miz, Mike The Miz from WWE, who has said, I really want to play Johnny Cage. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I think Carl Urban is a pretty good choice. I like Carl Urban a lot. Tam, what do you think?
Yeah, he's a good actor. He's got that vibe. He can do that vibe because it is basically Butcher from
yes, good point. He's got like that kind of wisecracking
The
thing
Boys.
as well.
He's got that wisecracking kind of like, I'm also very hard and tough energy to him as well. So, and also he's played these kind of like action hero style people before, most notably in massively underrated Please Give It a Sequel movie, Dread.
I love that movie.
It's fantastic. It came out at the same time as The Raid, which is like, okay, we understand why it perhaps didn't, travel as far, because The Raid is just on another level.
Oh yeah, the Raid is like onto itself, like its own thing, sort of. Yeah,
but Dread is good. I like it. I'm not upset about having that. The first Mortal Kombat movie was actually pretty good. Like I watched it and I was like, you know what, this is okay.
I was pretty bored by it. I stopped watching. I did not think it was bad. I just was not. I couldn't care about any of the characters, and I was also busy at the time, so I just stopped watching it. But I don't know. I
enjoyed it. Yeah, it did. Like it at the very least looked better than most Mortal Kombat movies have.
Yeah,
like most video game adaptation movies are.
Definitely true.
Yeah, and like it was fun, and I'm glad that they're making another one. Yeah. Good luck to Carl Urban / if he gets it, or The Miz if he gets it.
Or The Miz, yes, or have him do both and just have it be a multiverse story. Everyone else is doing one. Lego 2K Drive, we talked about that. I'm going to skip that one. Apple Arcade adds 20 new games to its lineup. This comes from Eric Van Allen at Destructoid. Apple's mobile gaming subscription service, Apple Arcade, is getting a fresh batch of new games. Today, Apple revealed 20 new games coming to the subscription service. One of the leaders of the pack is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, a co-op roguelite adventure starring the Turtles. The crew is searching for Splinter and will journey around New York City looking for clues while also picking up randomized power-ups. It looks pretty good, even though it definitely looks like a more lower budget beat 'em up, but it still looks pretty good. And TMNT games are just kind of coming out of the woodworks right now. They're everywhere, and here's another one.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll take a good TMNT game. I'll play a TMNT game and hope that it's good. I think it's also because like there's more attention on TMNT
Yeah,
than
that's probably
ever. There has
something.
been in a long while, and I think that a lot of that comes from the last Ronin story that just recently wrapped up, which was a pretty awesome little story where there's only one turtle left, and it's unclear which one it is because he's abandoned his bandana. The rest of them are dead, and it's just like almost like a old man Logan story with one of the turtles. It's really fun
Yeah,
and really cool.
I'm going to the library this weekend with my kids. I think I'm gonna pick it up if it's there.
Yeah, it's cool. I think like that, the quality of that has like brought a lot of attention to it, and you know the Eastman stuff that has been going on for a little while now has been really good. Like when they started redoing it a few years ago and restarted it, the whole like TMNT comic run has been high quality. So I think it's just having a moment, but not. I hope that it has a bigger moment. You know, I hope that
Yes.
game, you know, that Last Ronin adaptation that is reportedly in the works happens, and it's good, and the movies continue to be good. You know, there's a couple of animated TV shows. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles CG show that came out a little while ago was quite good. I watched a bunch of it, and I was having a lot of fun. So yeah, it's quietly TMNT is doing good.
There
Yeah.
is I'm gonna hit this next. There's some other games on those. The one that sticks out to me is getting over it plus. I don't know what the plus of a lot of these mean. I think that means like there's some improvements to it. Rap
I
Arcade,
think
right?
these are games that already exist in
Yes.
some form, and they're just being like updated.
Someone posted this in chat. There is already a copycat of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm gonna bring up this for video watchers. It looks just like someone took the the Zelda map and the Zelda abilities exactly like the rewind ability exactly, and they popped it in their game and have you play as this little elf boy. And now you can attach rocks to your stick and turn it into a hammer. Yeah, these things are happening quicker than ever. I wonder how much of this was made in AI. That's pretty wild.
That is crazy how quickly. I mean, people have known about. I was going to say
Right.
how quickly, but I guess we've known about the core mechanics of Tears of the
Yeah.
Kingdom for some time now. So that's long enough to create some sort of. Who's this working on though? Like, who's this working on? I don't know who sees that and goes, "This looks awesome. This looks like Zelda. I'm gonna buy it." I just don't understand, man.
I mean, it worked for Genshin Impact. I mean, I guess that came out way later and it was definitely doing its own thing. And this is probably doing its own thing too. This is probably a free to play. Okay, so some people chat. Some are saying this is not a real video game. Okay, well, fair enough. I guess we'll see. I like the comment though. Zolda, Wheeze of the Wild. Let's go play Zolda.
We have Zelda at home.
We have Zelda at home. Yes, exactly. All right. I have the poll question from yesterday. Are you still playing Pokemon Go? 29% said they never played. But of those who have, 63% say no, and 8% say yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's honestly like 8% of people playing the game still after this long, from like any sort of poll. It's actually probably a pretty big number for any sort of live ongoing game.
I mean, given how popular it was, 8% of that that kind of audience that it once had at its height is huge.
Yes, exactly.
It's huge. I'm not playing it, but I am friends with number one Pokemon Go player Andrew Goldfarb.
There he is.
Who I have a signed picture of, always nearby, and he actively plays it. I know, like Callie, who used to work at GameSpot, currently works at Polygon, plays it still. They do walks and stuff, and yeah, it seems like there's a fair few people that are still into. Actually, there was an event here in San Francisco a little while back, not a little while back, like a month or two ago. Oh yeah, Jan as well. Jan playing it. There was an event here. I don't know, it's some sort of like catch a raid, or like you can catch some sort of special Pokemon here. And there was a bunch of people around, like just walking over, and it was kind of nice because I was just sitting there with Andrew, and like these Pokemon Go players, they have a way of like identifying each other from afar and just being like, I know you're a Pokemon Go player. So they just walk up and be like, hey, do you want to trade this, and this? And it was kind of lovely to see like a community very like naturally forming, and it was really nice. Like I was like, oh, that's cute. Like because like Andrew was like walked over this mall area because he saw a bunch of Pokemon players like huddled up and was like, hey, do you guys need this thing? and they just like did a trade and made friends and swapped codes, and that was it. And I was like, oh man, this reminds me of the old days of playing video games.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. I was thinking, do you think at when we're at Summer Game Fest, we could set up a table and have Andrew Goldfarb sign 8x10s, and like we don't explain it and we don't tell anybody, or would that devalue your signed copy of his headshot?
It would devalue mine, but I would also love to see that happen.
I would really like that.
I would love that. That would be so good.
Okay, let's see if we can make that happen.
You know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna bring this with me to Summer Games Fest, right?
Yeah,
and I'm gonna get everyone of notoriety or like everyone cool to sign this.
Yeah. Okay, I love it.
Like I want Phil Spencer's signature on this. I want fucking Hideo Kojima's signature on this. And then once it's done, I'll put it on eBay and give the money to charity.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Okay, let's make that happen. All right, let's
try and get like as many games industry signatures on this picture of Andrew Goldfarb, and then sell it for charity.
I love it. I want John Vignaci's name to be the biggest.
I might give it to someone else to sell on charity because I can't do it because of tax and my immigration status.
Perfect. Wonderful. You can gift it to somebody else or sell it to them for $1 or something, then they can do it.
Yeah, and they can sell it on eBay and give that money to charity.
Wonderful. All right. I have a new poll question. Jan, what do you say we just do YouTube? Let's test that out. We're just going to run this on YouTube. This new poll question is, who should play Johnny Cage, Carl Urban, or The Miz? Those are your two options. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate it. We will answer that on Giant Bomb on Monday.
I would like you to add a third person to that, please.
You tell Jan what to do right now. He's probably
Jan,
up there right now.
What's that wrestler's name who's also a politician who was a
Kane?
low-key conspiracy? No, the one before that.
Oh, Jesse Ventura?
Jesse Ventura. Put him in.
Okay, I love it. Beautiful. All right, like I said, Giant Bomb Monday. Oh no, not Monday. I'm traveling. So we'll have a new episode of this show probably on Thursday. We'll see. Maybe Wednesday. Probably not though. So look out for it on Thursday. We're making big important decisions. So just look out for us to come back sometime later next week. But that is when we will answer this question on giantbomb.com. Speaking of giantbomb.com, UPF later. Look out. We'll have a stream popping off for that and more. Tam, thank you so much for talking to me today about video games. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Friday, baby. DREGGSDAY. I'm always here. I'm here most of the time anyway.
I was planning not to try very hard, and then you just brought the best out of me, like always, Tam. I appreciate it.
I love to see it.
Everyone, make sure you watch Spot On. Again, we'll probably stream that on this site later today, so you can all get a good taste of that. And then you're the best audience in gaming. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.